Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'll deafen for a bit to
Oh, I already got the shit up.
see.
It's still waiting for it here. I'm just gonna refresh the page. I can't hear shit yet. Gotta get you on Fiverr. Send half the paycheck to Fiverr. Easy. Oh, it appears to have started. Yeah.
There is sound. Yeah,
But I like hearing you twice.
I immediately muted YouTube.
I've actually got it up on my phone too. Yeah. The house husband one was the most recent one that I did, which was funny.
Hi, I'm Star. I've been a VA since the end of August last year, so I'm not too experienced, but it's fine. I don't really know what else to say.
Hi, name's Bliss, but I sometimes I'll go by Blisswritessometimes or Bliss Scripts. But yeah, I'm a writer. I usually write action scripts, but I just kind of write whatever. So yeah, hi.
Hello, I am Bridge. I've been writing ASMR scripts, I think, since the tail end of 2022. I did podcasting before that. Yep.
I can hear you just fine on the thing. Here, let me see if I can hear you specifically. I could before, but actually, wow, now I can't. Huh.
Okay, check to see. Does that work now?
Just waiting for the audio delay.
Because that's a little weird that they are not hearing me. See, this is why I ask you guys to let me know if you're hearing stuff.
Yep, I can hear you now.
On the stream?
Unless that was you who just said it, yeah.
I could definitely hear you when I did the check.
Yep, yeah.
That's weird. Okay, I don't know why that happened.
I could hear you before.
Okay, so they were lying to me this whole time. But I don't know what was gonna. Maybe I should reintroduce myself.
Go for it.
Anyways, yeah, because we probably had like a whole minute of just me talking and no one hearing.
Yeah, I was able to hear you before the stream started.
Okay, that's...
Well, not at the beginning.
Yeah,
but...
I don't know why that happened. Anyways, unfortunate audio technical difficulties. But anyways, yeah, again, my name is BluechanXD. I'm a writer, and I'm the host of this. So if you want like a proper... Actually, they missed on the Prince Cairo joke now.
Oh, damn, what a shame. They didn't hear the slander.
I have to redo this. I have to redo
Damn.
They heard your answers to me. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. So I guess we have to redo that now. Unfortunately. So yeah, I was making a joke about how for a while Prince Cairo had only done one of my scripts like way back in the day, and that was the reason why you had like 2 weeks worth of content based on my work like for like a couple of weeks ago. And then he started like doing, well, the only one he did afterwards was the Villain is Your House Husband one. So yeah, which
was very fun.
But
I had to move some stuff around for that.
So yeah, so this is gonna be kind of weird. At least this didn't happen while we were doing the questions. So it was just during introduction.
Very funny.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Anyways, so let's move on to the next person on our list. It's pronounced Juani, right? I'm correct in that?
Yes, that's it.
So please tell us about yourself.
I am, well, I'm kind of newer at this. I started last September. But newer VA, really love doing this, kind of got obsessed with it, and yeah, here I am.
Well, that is good to hear. And like I said, we will hear more from you as we go. And last but certainly not least, Prince Cairo. I already talked a little bit right now, but please introduce yourself to the group.
Of course. I'm Prince Cairo, and I'm mainly known for my yandere and not safe for work content, because, well, let's be honest, that's all everybody wants from me.
Okay. So I guess we'll find out more about our group. But anyways, yeah, technical difficulties aside, we will be answering several questions right now that were provided to us by the lovely members of our community. And I will be using a randomizer to decide on who actually answers the questions first. And I've already gotten my list up. So let's start off with my questions, actually. I have 3 questions. One's for writers, one for VAs, and one for everyone. So we are starting with our writers. Is there a VA that you wish would voice your work but hasn't? Do you have a script in mind for them? Bridge, you are first.
Not really. I'm just happy if they get any filth, honestly.
No particular person, even if it's not even an ASMR VA. Like, can you just let's see if we can. If not, that's fine. But
I'd really like it if not would continue my shopkeeper script, but he doesn't have to.
I mean, that's an answer, you know.
Like, that's a really technical script. I don't expect anybody to do that.
Oh, who knows? Maybe he will after this. Maybe we can ping him and let him know. Anyways, so yeah, let's go on. I'm actually next for this, and I actually wanted to answer this because I remember this coming up a while back in a conversation I had like several months, probably like a year ago with somebody. So I've seen, and I think Skittles, because you're on, you have your own podcast, the One-on-One podcast, which should be having a new episode coming out soon, as far as I'm aware. But again, this is actually a question that you have on your podcast, which again, you can also find on our channel if you want to check that out too. And specifically, I kind of wanted to answer this question because this is somebody that unfortunately has not done my work before, and I really wish. Actually, I technically have two answers to this question. If I had let's do the pipe dream answer first. This is a VA who actually does not do any sort of script fill, but my favorite VA ever in terms of ASMR is Azuru Official. Again, he does all of his own writing for his scripts.
Oh,
he does a lot of Genshin scripts. Again, pipe dream would be if he were to do my scripts. He's never going to, but you know, it would be awesome if he did, but no, it's not gonna happen unless I subscribe to his Patreon or something. But in terms of I guess realistic VAs who I wish would do my work, but unfortunately have not. I've had one in mind for a very long time, and that is BridgeofAudio's, who I absolutely adore his work, honestly. If anyone's actually seen the Tsundere Bully series over on Langley Daisuke's channel, I actually really like Alex's character. I know that's weird, but again, I'm the villain person, you know? I like those films, so I would like for him to do my work at some point. Who knows if it's ever gonna happen, but that is my wish list VA, and he has been for a while, honestly. Our next person on the list is going to be Bliss.
Well, I mean, since I posted my my villain ex-listener script, I really wanted Shining Armor ASMR to do it because it's a really it's got really emotional bits, and he's really good at doing the emotional bits, and he's got a good voice. So.
I don't think he's done my work either, so that would be interesting. I'll check.
We can pray together.
We could pray together. I don't know. Actually, I'd have to check because I have I don't even know how many VAs have done my work. It was 180 something VAs. So I have it checked somewhere. I don't know. It's I don't know if he's done my work. Who knows? Anyways, Prince Cairo, I'm actually gonna do you want me to treat you as a writer too? Because you do technically write your own.
Can, but scripts? I mainly improvise my own scripts. Oh. However, I do have an answer for you.
Okay, so would you like to answer this question?
Sure. Now I suppose I would think of it in terms of if there's a VA that I wanted to do mine, it'd actually be Egg. Egg, just like Shining, has a great voice, very good emotionally, and I'm actually cooking up something a little bit more on the yandere side that I feel like he'd be a perfect fit for. He's actually one of his performances, it was one of his kidnapping scripts, was a little bit of an inspiration behind what I've got going on right now.
Honestly, yeah, Egg's also another one that I should probably put on my list too. He would be a really good one to listen to.
You know,
but I don't write a lot of yandere scripts. That's the thing. I do not write a lot of yandere scripts, so unfortunately. But yeah, some very good answers for this question. So we're actually going to move on to the next question, which is actually the VA variant of this question to an extent. So for VAs, if you could get a free commission from any writer, who would you get it from, and what would the script be about? Let me bring up my randomizer again. Let me redo this. Okay, Star is first.
I've had time to plan my answer to this. Okay.
Very good.
Would probably would probably be Prince in Yellow, because I'm pretending I'm not friends with him, because he made one script a while ago, which was like finding out your girlfriend is a vampire, and it's the most popular video on my channel, so I kind of want a part 2 to it.
Honestly, a very good choice. I've seen a lot of Prince and Yellow's work, so it looks pretty. I haven't read a lot of people's scripts, but they looked very interesting. So I should probably go listen to some films. So our next person is going to be Juani.
Well, this is one of the questions that I hadn't really thought that much about. I do have some in mind though, but well, Esme would be one that I'd like her to write something for me, the demon boyfriend script. And I'd want her to write a second season to it because it's just awesome and it was a lot of fun.
Honestly, like I
And
was gonna say I'm not surprised that Esme's on here, but we keep going.
And there's a few Joyland Blah. She's written a few scripts that I've done, but she doesn't do sequels. And yeah, I respect that, but I'd really like it if she did.
Should go reach out and ask. I know she does a couple where well, at least it's like multi-part series, but I guess like unfortunate if you did want to have sequels to certain scripts. But yeah, very good choices, and again, not surprising to hear some of these names. Yes, last we have Prince Cairo.
Okay. I'm actually torn between two writers on this one, actually. One is actually Yankan, who mainly does femdom stuff, and the other one would actually be Alva, because I just kind of want to see how crazy she can get with my type of ideal persona combined with her writing style.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Both of them are in the server. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out maybe and see. Actually, a good opportunity for some people here would be that in the server we do have several events where we can pair off people into groups. This is what we did actually for like the Valentine's Day theme, where we actually paired off people to work together, like one writer, one VA. So if you all want to check that out sometime, I think that actually it's going to be next year. So next year, February, if you guys are around and want to actually, possibly have a chance at working with your favorite writer / VA, that is the opportunity. So let us move on to the serious question. Well, it's not even a question, but this is the topic that unfortunately I would like to discuss with our group. It is the parasocial relationships topic, and I'm actually going to start this one off because I think it's important for me to discuss at least some of the situations or some of the incidents we've had in the server. But for those who are unaware of what this means, parasocial relationships are essentially one-sided relationships between, like, typically someone who is much more, like, popular and has an audience, and then audience member, I guess, who doesn't really know that they necessarily exist. So oftentimes, especially in this community, this is going to happen a lot to our VAs, and I know that it's happened to several of our VAs. They're the ones that have been reaching out to us about this, especially with listeners. Again, it's not always the case. Sometimes this will happen between two VAs. It can happen between a writer, VA, writer, any sort of combination of these things, but most often, or more often than not, it's usually going to happen between the VAs and the listeners, because the VAs are kind of the front runners of this community, and they're the ones that the listeners experience more so than they do the writers. So oftentimes, because a lot of VAs are writing characters who, let's say that a listener might be attracted to in some way or has some sort of connection to, like, that when it comes to parasocial relationships, it becomes like an unhealthy obsession sometimes, or assuming that you know that person when you really don't. And again, like I said, unfortunately, it happens in our community, and I was actually given permission by a VA to share their DMs with a listener. I'm going to show this on screen. All the names are blacked out, and just for the anonymity. But I want everybody to see kind of what happens on the back end in some of these cases, so I'm going to read this out. Also, for context, for this conversation, because it doesn't have the whole thing, in the server, the VA had mentioned that they had broken up with their significant other, right? This listener had reached out to this VA unprompted, and this is kind of where this conversation began. So I'll read from what we have here. So VA says, so I'm still working out what to do with myself on that front. Listener says, so yeah, what about this? What happened? Aren't you guys dating? VA, well, not anymore, it seems. Then listener says, what happened between you two? I mean, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but I'm here for you, heart. And by the way, yes, I would really love to date an ASMR person sometime. It would be a dream. So are you okay, bestie? Again, this was completely unprompted. The VA never once had any sort of, I guess, indication that they would have been interested in a relationship with this listener. But again, it's like the audacity that some people have to say this sort of thing, especially, you know, to a VA that you just, again, reached out to unprompted. This person didn't ask you, like, to talk to them about it or anything. And again, like, especially when this is kind of a difficult time for that person, you know, they just broke up with their significant other, and you're just coming in here basically saying, like, you know, like, oh, I would be interested in dating someone who's like you. It's like, and I also want to point out that this person was not the only, or this VA was not the only person that this listener reached out to. We had heard from a different server that they had reached out to, like, over 10 people in their server, basically kind of trying to get into relationships with them as well. And again, it had happened to several VAs in our server. I'm not going to give names or anything like that, and preferably I'd rather anyone who's here not mention any names as well, if they happen to know anyone who is, I guess, in this sort of situation. But again, kind of my point is that this, despite the fact that we keep telling people to not do this, it keeps happening, unfortunately. And there's only so much that we can do, and in a sense, it's kind of preaching to the choir at this point. But I kind of just want to show everyone, you know, this is the sort of stuff that goes on in the back, like, that you might not necessarily see. We've had even worse cases than this one. Like, this is very tame compared to some of the other ones. I'm not going to talk about one that happened several months back, but it, let's just say it involved, like, a very large age difference between, like, the VA and the listener. And we ended up banning one of the people in our server because of it. I did not get permission from that person to share their DMs or anything like that, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I want, I guess, our panelists to sort of weigh in on this, if they have any sort of opinion. You don't necessarily have to talk about it, but I mean, I'll do the randomizer for this. But
if I may request to go last, for I actually do have a direct story about this.
Yes, that is perfectly fine. Let's go with Bridge first.
I also have quite a story to share on this front. Not
Please
for like script writing, but this happened I want to say 2017, 2018. Anybody remember Pro Jared?
Yes, I do.
He was a big gaming YouTuber. He still is kind of big. Well, there was so much parasocial stuff going on. It's kind of cringe thinking about it. I was not part of it. I was in the fandom. I was not part of it. Lots of people and this situation kind of fucked me up to the point where I'm scared to call people my friends. 'Cause I am friends with him now. Like, I can say that for certain. We've had two-way communication on this, but back then there was a lot of not great stuff going on. It got too comfortable in too many ways. That led to a whole big explosion of stuff. That wasn't great. It's hard to think about.
Yeah, I do remember him talking about it as well and doing that big video of just kind of explaining of what was happening. Again, like I'd rather not give my own opinion of it.
Was
but yeah. Like if anyone wants to check that out, it's over. I think it's still over on his channel.
I wrote a whole article I was gonna publish on Medium about it. But I never published the article because that would admit to people that I'm friends with these guys, which I am genuinely, but after seeing how other people reacted, maybe I should just keep it secret.
I mean, in a way, like it's kind of both sometimes, like especially if you don't want to like cause more contention. But again, like even in cases like this, like I kind of want to tie this back to, I guess, our server in a sense, where if people are experiencing this, to please reach out to us about it, because oftentimes we won't even find out about this until like months later. Like it's happened several times where we find out like several months after certain things have happened, like from like somebody mentioning, oh yeah, this happened, like whatever, like on a VC or something. Like, why didn't you bring this up to us, right? It's like you would, like we could have handled this, but you know, like unfortunately, like it goes unnoticed sometimes, and despite us saying, you know, not to do this sort of stuff, it still continues to happen. But anyway, do you have anything else to add, Bridge?
No, not really.
All right, I guess we could move on.
Really.
But thank you for sharing that story. Let's go with Bliss next. And again, like I said before, if people aren't comfortable talking about it, you're free to skip.
It's kind of a tough position. Like it's good that people like they can form attachments when they really need them, but there should definitely be some boundaries. Like in no case is that okay. Like that's just wrong.
Yeah, like I said, just unfortunately people don't really follow those boundaries, despite the fact that we try to set them, and like we even put it in our rules here in the server, and yet people still don't follow them, you know. Unfortunate. But yes, let's go with Star next. Or if you're able to hear, I'm not sure.
Sorry, my thing glitched for a second.
No problem.
So I kind of have an experience about it, and I'm going to make it as SFW as possible. So one person had sent me a script. They'd been subscribed to me for quite a while, but they sent me a script. It was quite nauseating. It wasn't NSFW outright, but it was nasty. But they didn't make it specifically like me making the audio talking to a listener. They made it specifically talking to them with their full legal name and their full hometown. No.
Yeah, like at that point, again, that's where it becomes a problem, where people end up basically treating themselves like actually as the listener. Like it honestly becomes worse than Parasocial in that sense, because you know, like it's one thing to be like, oh, I know the the VA like in my head, but then just to actually force the VA into that situation where like you're kind of playing into that as a character. Like I think again that's breaking a boundary, and please don't do that. You know, don't do that to our VAs. They're very important in this community, and they deserve just about as much respect as anyone else. With this, yeah, you probably can if you want to. If not, it's fine. Also, sorry about that. I started mentioning it in the chat.
It's okay. So for context on how it was nauseating, it wasn't an SFW, but it was two very distinct and very obscure fetishes, which I don't want to be crude, but one of them was wearing diapers and the other one I'm not going to mention. So I'm not going to fill that. So please stop contacting me to try and get me to fill it. Thank you.
Unfortunately, that's also been something that's happened in the server too, where we've had certain people have like very specific like fetishes and stuff that they tried to get, and it wasn't even like fill in this case. It was more of like role playing with certain people in DMs. So you're not alone in that story. Let's just put it that way. Unfortunately,
luckily, I still don't have my Discord server open yet, so not many people can contact me through Discord, but every single video I posted after they sent that to me, they said, hey, I emailed you a script. When are you going to fill it? For like 5-6 videos, and then I just stopped responding.
Yeah, and that's another thing we tell people, you know, just if certain VAs don't respond to you about something, like don't keep pushing them about it. Like sure, you can mention it like once or twice, but like if they just don't respond, like don't keep doing it. Like it's telling you a clear thing there. And like I said, just unfortunately, even though we're preaching to the choir right now, just keep that in mind. And especially, I think it's mostly important just to say here that even if, you know, we're not talking necessarily to the people who would do this, if it happens to you again, please reach out about it. Like you're not alone in this. Like there's a lot of people that have to deal with this, and we can handle it for you on our behalf if necessary. Like if you're in the server itself, we've had cases where we've stopped certain things from happening. But again, we'll continue on. Next we have, I believe, Wani.
I do have some stuff to say on this. Like, we listen to ASMR stuff, and you got to realize these are scripts that these ASMR artists are filling, or they're ones that they wrote themselves, but it's a character. It's not the VA. Liking someone's work is very different from liking them or even knowing them at all. And just respect that, and that VAs are playing their part, and it's great if the ASMR helps a little loneliness or something like that, but you don't really know the VA.
Yeah, that's basically what we're trying to tell people. And again, we don't even want to just say that it's for VAs, because this applies to writers too. This applies to anyone in this community or anyone else, any other content creator that you might know. Like they are regular people just like you. Like don't treat them like, you know, they're just some sort of nebulous being that you can throw all this stuff at, basically. Or, and like I said, you don't know these people. They're essentially strangers. Yeah, they're making content that you like, but that's all it is. It's content. They are not their characters. It's hard to keep having to reiterate that, but that's unfortunately the case. Anyways, apparently Prince Cairo has a story to tell, so please do.
Okay. A while ago, it was about half a year ago, I'd say, I joined into another creator server. They don't just do ASMR, but I only knew them from doing ASMR. And I joined into their server, and I'm a very sociable person. I love talking to people. You can tell that whenever I'm involved in a conversation, I don't shut up. The type of person who will, to the detriment of sometimes other people, interject myself into other people's conversations. I just love to talk to people. And I don't really discriminate who I talk to for the most part, with the exception of like children. I don't really talk to them unless I have to. Um, that being said, I was in this creator server, and if you're a fan of my work, I'm not going to just not talk to you because you're a fan of my work. That's weird. And it's also, I don't subscribe to the belief that you can't be friends with somebody who's, watched your work first, because there's plenty of content creators that have been friends of their fans and, they've ended up becoming part of like a team. I mean, all of Team Theorists, if you ever watch any of like the game theory videos, anything like that, they were all people who watched the videos and ended up, on the show, right? And they're all friends and stuff. So there's no reason to say that you can't be friends with somebody if they just watch your work or something like that, and that's fine. So immediately, what this person did was not a red flag to me because I never encountered the situation. Because I always hung out in different spaces than just VA spaces, so I have no way for it to happen. But there was a person, a listener, and I guess she really liked my work. Now, I'm also the type of person to just kind of let stuff happen for the sake of it being entertaining, as bad as it sounds. But obviously that is a double-edged sword that can go very bad very fast. And she got to the point where like she would just talk about me all the time. Even when I didn't interact with her, like I stopped interacting as much, and then she'd just try to like insert herself into conversations when I'm speaking, or she'd like go genuinely roleplay, like go, ah, I wish that my prince would speak to me, something like that, right? Which is getting kind of weird and cringy, to be honest with me. But like, it is what it is. Everybody's been a little bit cringe once or twice in their life, but then she just kept it going. And then she would start convincing people that like, we'd hang out a lot more than we did. And I've spoken to her one-on-one, but mainly in like VCs, like in like a server like we're in right now. That's how it's always been. That's how I talk to more people. I like talking to multiple people, so I'm usually never in a one-on-one VC, just because I prefer to get to be able to talk to multiple people. And she got to the point where she would like start spam calling me. And, luckily, if I have OBS open, I don't get that notification anyway. But, seeing 20 calls from somebody, that's a little bit more than just a red flag for most people where they would have blocked them by now. But my block list only consists of 2 people, for which she is one of them, which lets you know how bad it got. She would create group chats for people when I didn't respond to her in her DMs, and then have her friends also try to spam ping me and like call me into the chat and stuff because they wanted me to just say certain things. That was getting kind of weird, which more than just kind of obviously this is like crazy stalker territory. And the final nail in the coffin for me is when I'd like woken up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and essentially when she was speaking, because she was just up or whatever, and she was talking about somebody mentioned me, and then she's like, don't go talking about my man. I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, okay, what do you mean by that? And she's like been on a crusade this entire time to convince whoever would listen that her and I had anything going on. So essentially I had a friend of mine who's like got a degree in writing. She like drafted up some for me, and we like sent it to her and everything along with the mods of the server, like, yo, this is what's going on, these are what you've been doing, here's like exactly what you said, here's the screenshot of you saying it, you're a weirdo, leave me alone, or else I'm going to be looking into legal action. Because she was actually getting kind of uncomfortable. I mean, my friend warned me like a week ago that it was bad, but I kept letting it happen. And eventually she just kind of let me go, which is great. And about a week and a half ago, ironically enough, one of her friends from back then, I only knew this because I opened up the chat when they messaged me and said, hey, but our chat is just them trying to say hi to me and me never responding because they're freaks, for like months. Yes, I don't block people. I know I'm weird. And then randomly I got a friend request from her by her username again. I'm like, oh no. And that's when the block list came up again. So she's actually got 2 Discord accounts blocked from me. right now, which is hilarious. But apparently she hasn't let go yet. So if she's seeing this, don't talk to me again, please. I don't want you around me. That's all.
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes people still don't get it. Your situation actually reminded me of that other case that I'm not really going to talk too much about. I'll kind of briefly discuss it just because it kind of fits with this. Where one of the listeners that we had wanted us to reach out to a VA, like in this case, like similar to you, is like this person had been blocked, right? And this listener was basically demanding that we, the mod team of this server, reach out to a VA that had blocked them. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just like, why would you even do this?
What made them think that you would?
I don't know why, but we tried to explain to this person. We're like, we're not gonna do that for you. Like, we reached out to the VA and said, like, hey, what's going on here? Like, not like to say like that, hey, we're trying to get this person like to get a conversation. We were just like, what's going on here? And they explained to us, yeah, this person's been stalking me and stuff. And basically all this stuff I'm not going to get into, but essentially, yeah, like we had a case where a person attempted to reach out to the mod team demanding that we reach out to a VA to speak with them despite being blocked. So some people just don't get it. Like, they just don't get it.
Oh yeah. No, it gets bad.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Like, it takes effort to block someone. You have to go click a few things before clicking block. You don't do that on accident. Unfortunately, like I said, some people just don't get it for some reason. I don't know why, despite the fact that, like exactly like Yorban was saying, it's like the mods are my personal harassment team, right? Like, it was ridiculous, like the stuff that this person was attempting to do, like to get to this person. They tried reaching out to another person's, like that person's other VA friend to force them both to do like a collab with each other just so that this listener could get to that VA. I'm like, the stuff that people do, like it's ridiculous, honestly. But again, I'm not gonna get into this. But anyway, again, thank you all for sharing your opinions on this very difficult topic. I know it's a little rough, but we're gonna have all the fun questions now after this.
Hey, look, you can form whatever type of weird relationship with me in your mind if you want, if you're going to pay by the minute. Like, I'm going to get something out of this.
Monetize it.
Yeah, I got to get something out of this, and it's got to be public. Everybody's got to hear it. In no way I'm getting caught lacking. I'm not getting a twit longer about me because you decided to AI synthesize my voice. Is not happening.
Alrighty. Anyways, let's move on to a question from Turtle Shark. What is the easiest and hardest part of the writing process for you? This is for writers. Let me do this because for some reason Bridge keeps coming up first. I don't know. It's like we gotta switch this up a little bit more. Okay, I guess I'm first with this. This question is kind of funny because I was just talking about this with the group right now. I feel like the easiest part is actually writing the script, funny enough, just because I feel like once I get into the dialogue, like it becomes a dialogue in my head where I just have the back and forth between characters, and I kind of find it easy for me to do that. Not necessarily something that others might find easy, like they might, like, well, we'll find out as we go and ask more people. But the funniest thing is the hardest part of the writing process for me is coming up with the title and tags. That is the worst part of any script, because sometimes, you write this whole fun story and everything, but then when you look back at what you're like, what is this story even about? What am I supposed to title this? Or like, there's so many things happening. Like, what's the easiest way to describe this plot? And sometimes that's a struggle, and again, same goes with the tags. Even though, like, I have a system where I'm like, okay, there's particular types of tags that I want to have. Like, I mean, I have the genre tags, obviously, but then when it comes to things like the rest of your tags, or like relationship tags, or, like miscellaneous stuff, I'm like, what do I even add here? Like I feel like I can't really explain sometimes what I'm doing, unfortunately. So sometimes you'll see some weirdly questionable tags with my scripts. But that's me. Anyways, let us move on to Bridge, who, again, this randomizer really likes to hear answers from first.
Incidentally, I think the easiest part for me is the title and tags.
We got the opposite then. We'll see.
But the title's easy because I usually come up with the title first. And then I'm like, all right, this is what the title's going to say about the script. And I also don't do the quote unquote typical ASMR script titles. The hardest part is remembering that I'm not the one doing the sound editing. So I can't just have the most crazy wild sound cues because other people don't do those. Because I started in podcast editing for like audio dramas and stuff. So all of my brain for scripting is like, oh yeah, I can do this really detailed soundscape. That's not what people really want.
Honestly, now that you mentioned that, like, I feel like that's a struggle too. Just like coming up with soundscapes. Probably, I feel like the best advice I've ever heard from this is, can you find it on like Zapsplat or something and then put it there? I feel like that makes it a little bit easier.
See, I feel like I get way too much into sound effects and stuff.
I did not make. Try banging your head against one of my monsters. I'll have you searching up.
There's some
how
very,
to
very
make your own.
Oh no, I do a lot of like making my own sounds and layering
I actually
them and slowing
bought
them down
one.
and all that.
Well, like, I'm used to like being able to write my own scripts that I know the actors will voice, and then I know how to sound design it. So I just write down exactly what my thought process is, but my thought process is not everyone else's thought process.
I have had some people, oh my gosh, I forget who it was now, but there was a couple writers where they actually put the link to the freesound.org sound effect that they wanted to be used in the script. And I was like, dude, thank you. Thank you so much.
I've seen some people do that.
I should start doing that.
I think it's a good idea, but at the same time, when I've thought about doing it, I'm just like, I don't want to have everyone's fills sound exactly the same. If that makes sense.
Script sound that.
So that's kind of why, like, I guess my method of doing this is having several options for the VAs to work with and say, like, it doesn't have to be this type of sound effect. It can be this, or this, or whatever, if I feel like anything can work. But, you know, I guess having that option there works. But anyways, Prince Cairo.
Oh, sure. So here, let me go back up here. Okay, the easiest and hardest part. I guess I am technically speaking writing a script at this exact moment, and I know where I want it to go beforehand, kind of, because it just kind of like pops into my head. It just sometimes that little in between part, like how am I going to get from here to here in between different scenes? Like it's that type of thing. But the actual hardest part for me is because I also have to make a video out of it. There can only be so many Vampire King bites views on YouTube, or else your video is literally not going to go anywhere. But I can't make it so out of this world that nothing's going to really pick it up. So it's interesting trying to find like a balance, because there's like a really good title that you know an author could have, such as one that I was doing recently. Their title is absolutely phenomenal. It's called Obsession's Lullaby, but literally nobody is going to know what that means. And to be honest with you, I don't have the audience base that is large enough to just get them to click on that anyway. So I have to kind of do my own thing with it while also keeping it relevant to the script, which makes it a little bit more difficult, especially when I've only given 100 characters to do it, including my tags and everything.
That is always the hard part. We always have to write out the, or at least I feel like the method that works a lot of the time with the titles is often, like, I called it the light novel method, I guess, where you just describe what happens in the story.
Give it like a One Piece title.
It's like ridiculously long title sometimes. Like, that's kind of why I say, I'm like, VAs, you're allowed to change the
reincarnated
title.
in another world as a...
Like, my logic, like, when it comes to putting out, like, the titles is more, like, to attract
feel
the
like-
VA, I guess, as opposed to what it's gonna be.
That is how it happens.
Title should be like a blurb. Like, you should read the title and go, okay, that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sometimes you don't know what it's about, though. Even if
That's
you're
what
the
I need to
writer.
get better at.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't even know what I wrote about, honestly.
But
Like
it
they're,
works though, because when you're scrolling through Reddit, you just see, oh, hey, that sounds cool. And yeah, it's not like some obscure, weird, like beatnik title or something.
Yeah, like
Right, right.
like the specialty titles work for books, I feel like, but in the ASMR setting where you're competing with a lot of people, like scrolling over on YouTube and stuff, like you kind of need those longer, like descriptive titles.
Yeah, or else they're just not gonna go for it. One good example that I have for this recently is I saw a script. Well, actually, I'm not gonna lie. I saw a Shining Armor video, which then prompted me to go find the script. And he just simply just put the script title in there, and the script title is phenomenal. It is perfect. I would have loved to have done that, but now I can't do that, right? I can't do that anymore. I mean, I can, but it's not gonna. How's that gonna look? Right, I cover the same script after he does it, then I use the exact same title as him, and only 1% of people are ever going to find out that that's the script title. That's just going to look weird.
Just
And probably cause some
thesaurus.com.
issues.
Just replace a couple words here and there. No one's gonna notice.
It's 4 words.
Replace everything.
That's the problem. That's what I have to do.
What's the title?
I'm gonna have to...
It's called But You're My Arch Nemesis by Neon to the Max.
What was that?
I'm gonna have to dip out right now.
That's no
Sorry.
problem. It's okay. But we were glad to have you for the short time that
It was
you were
fun.
here. But
course.
yes, thank you, Bridge, for joining us.
I was reincarnated as an ASMR script listener. That's crazy.
But we'll have to get back to you on that one, Grid Skyrim.
Yeah, no problem.
I actually saw one that was, I was isekai'd and became a 3DO mic. And I was like, what?
I mean, I get it. Like, I get it.
I think Golden Proxy writes
That sounds like something
titles like that. That sounds like a Golden Proxy title. Actually, hold on. Give me a second. I have to see if it is. Okay, it's not. I had to check.
No, I remember there was a picture with it too, and I was like, what the hell?
I have no idea. Anyway, let us move on. Let's see. Okay, I think Bliss, you are next.
The easiest part would probably be the title and like the context, but I know I do struggle in the context sometimes, but yeah, I can do those bits pretty easily. But the hardest part would probably be getting started. Like those first couple lines are always a nightmare.
I get it sometimes. But oh my gosh, everybody's having the opposite problem as me. Why can I not have this? Why can I not have this talent that everyone else has? To be able to write titles and tags easily.
I never said about tags. Tags are a different story.
No, they are a different story. I hate
Different
writing
battle.
tags. It is its own special battle. I don't like writing tags. It's not fun. But I wish I could do titles better sometimes. Anyways, let us move on to the next question, which I believe should be for our VAs, again from Turtle Shark. How do you search for scripts to perform? Do you do anything special, or do you just scroll through Reddit/server, and that means our server, the ASMR Script Guild, for those who have not joined us. We actually have a link over on our homepage if you want to join. Anyways, whatever until you find something you like. So, first person is Star.
Well, most of the time I scroll on the subreddit until something catches my eye. But if I'm searching for something specific, like a specific script that a friend of mine has asked me to do, or I'm looking for a script for a collab I want to do, then I will just look up like one tag. But other than that, I do just scroll for hours until I find something.
Here's actually a question on top of that question. That's not even my question, but where do you scroll from? From hot or new?
Normally, I scroll from new, just because it's less likely to find other VAs who have filled the script and less likely to give me imposter syndrome.
Oh, that is interesting. The dreaded imposter syndrome. But I guess we'll find out if the VAs who are doing that watch everybody just have the same method and you just end up doing it in the same scripts anyways, unfortunately. But yeah, so let us move on to Prince Cairo. Who is in fact muted.
That is a great question. I was going down on some water. Now, I usually start by like getting on Script Haven directly, and then I'll like scroll for like a little bit. If there's nothing that immediately catches my eye, then I'm like, oh wait, I'm in a server, and then I'll just go to like one of the tags or whatever. Like, I mean, for me, usually Yandere. I'll go in there, see if there's anything new that I haven't immediately filled, and then yeah, that's how I go for it. Other than that, I might feel a little bit spontaneous. If I can't find anything in like 10 minutes, I'll just improv something.
Interesting method. Let's see. And then lastly we have Juani.
I will scroll Reddit, like just scroll through and look for certain things, or if certain stuff is on my mind, I'll search up that keyword. Like a lot of times it's monster boys. I'm guilty of that. But lately, actually, people have been sending me scripts that they'd like to see done, which is very cool because it means that I have a backlist of scripts that I'm just doing. But it's kind of weird because it means I'm not scrolling as much. So I think a lot of ones that I'd like to do slip through the cracks, and then I have FOMO about it.
I think I recall somebody actually posting a question over on Script Haven about like that exact thing of like whether VAs actually like having script writers send scripts to them, and a lot of them said they felt flattered.
Oh, I love it. Like, I think
do.
I actually answered that question. Like, it's flattering, but it's a little like, it's like, oh my God, thank you. And then if you don't like it, it's like, oh, I feel a little guilty.
That's kind of why I don't like doing that a lot of the time. Like, even though VAs say, it's like, sure, like, I feel flattered by doing that. I'm like, I don't want to send somebody a script that they won't like. I'd rather people find my work and actually just do it because they like it. But anyway. Let us move on to our next question. It is Sobios, okay. This one's for everyone, actually. This question, I told Turtle Shark barely skirts eligibility for the types of questions that we can answer. So this is for everyone. There's a bomb in the center of the Earth that will destroy the planet. The only way to shut it down is to delete one of your scripts/audios from existence. Which one is it and why? Okay, I'm first with this. So this is kind of I'm gonna like cheat this question to an extent because what if my idea is that if I delete a script and I do so with the intention of rewriting it, is that okay? Because I feel like that'd be kind of a funny thing to do. Honestly, any of my scripts could work. As a meme, I might joke, and Not's gonna be he's gonna be offended by this. What if I deleted part 1 of the choosing the villain script and rewrote it? Because I feel just so I could force people to no longer ask me for part 4 of that series. Please stop asking. I don't want to write another part.
What can I get part 4?
So just like make it end at part 1, be like,
yeah,
shut
basically
up.
make it end at part 1. Shut up, guys. Stop asking for more. But yeah, I have my loophole answers, I guess. But it would be funny to actually rewrite a script that I deleted. Honestly, like any of the ones that aren't like my top scripts work, to be honest, just because I wouldn't want to change the ones that are like that. Actually, you know what would be a really good one? I would delete my first script because it does a lot of things that I no longer do anymore, in terms of, or at least like it does a lot of like the big no-nos that I say nowadays. Like it does have some of that repetition because it was my first script, you know. It's like, but I would delete that script and rewrite it if I had the chance. To save the world, Turtle Shark. But anyway, let us move on to our next person, and that is going to be Prince Cairo.
So if I don't delete it, the whole world's gonna go?
That is correct.
Well, it's been nice knowing y'all. Anyway, outside of letting the earth blow up, it'll be Yandere Neko agent interrogates you. 1, I don't play Catboys. 2, I don't play Catboys. that's like it. I was not feeling that one. And it's also 5 minutes long, and I don't really do scripts that are under 10 that often anymore. It overall just was not a very good performance for me, if I'm being honest with you.
Redo it with the loophole that I've created.
No. No. I'd actually just let the earth blow up, to be honest with you.
Well, I guess good riddance to that one then.
Yeah,
so
it's gotta go.
Next person is Star.
Okay, well, for me, it's both a script and an audio I've done. So back in very early January, I wrote my first script, which was a Winter Wonderland script, and it's hideous. It was like a big collab. It wasn't big. There were like 3 other people. They all did amazing. The script itself is terrible. So I would like it gone from existence, please.
Would you care to rewrite it? Or no? Or is it just gone forever to the void?
I mean, I'd rewrite something to have all 3 of their amazing voices in it again. But I don't know if I'd write the same thing. It's just, it's not good.
Write it even better this time, you know? So,
also, I still can't write. I cannot write scripts to save my life. So
practice makes perfect. Keep going. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Just keep going. Do it like 1,000 different ways. When I first started, I think I recorded like probably 20 different things before I actually released any of them. But yeah, you're gonna hate your first go around.
I think that applies to a lot of people, really. Like, you're gonna look back at a lot of your old work and say, why did I do that? I still do this sometimes. And so
I started hating that script while I was editing the video. But also, one of the people that I included in that script is watching the stream and just DM'd me saying that he loves the script. So now I feel bad.
I mean, no way. Like, it's kind of nice to hear that from some people. Like, that's why I won't like take down my own work and stuff, because, you know, like, there's some pretty incredible people out there who did like that work, and just knowing that someone did, you know, like, it's not as bad as you think. Let's just put it that way. So I think we should all give ourselves a little bit more credit sometimes. And I get it, like, from the perspective of being like a creative and whatnot, like, it's not always going to be perfect in the way that we imagined it, but, you know, like, think of it as part of the learning experience, and kind of look at it as a way to show, like, where you started and how you're doing now, you know, like, it's a nice way to see the progress that you made over time. So there's definitely value in a lot of those old works for everyone, I think.
Honestly, fair, which is why I am writing another script. It's just been on pause for like 2 months.
Well, keep going at it, you know? We would love to see it. Okay, now we move on to Bliss.
If I could delete one, it would be One Vulnerable Night. I think, like, the idea I originally had for it was good, but the way I wrote it, I kind of hate it.
I guess we just repeat what I said before, basically.
Yeah.
You can always kind of a
Put
good
it in
thing
a fire
and say, you know, this is how things were. This is where we are now. You know, nice to see that progress forward.
No, if I could, I would just burn the whole thing.
I guess it's up to you whether you want to keep it or not. If it's to save the world, I guess, according to Turtle Shark.
No, just restart from scratch. Just, you know, like, let Oscar just run the planet.
Let's use the loophole, guys. And of course, last but certainly not least, we have Juani.
Okay, you know, I really don't know. I don't know if I could delete any of my work or anything. Because, like you were saying, what if there's somebody out there who that's like their favorite script, even if you do hate it? And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any of mine that are that cringeworthy where I just want to burn them. But I just let the world burn.
Really? You would allow your work to stay and let everyone else die because it was your script or your script or audio in your case that you had to delete.
Yes. And I will be standing up there holding a folder full of all my stuff and be like, yep, it's me. This is my fault. Like, you guys can all know
violence. It's chosen violence, guys. Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, let us move on to more questions. We have one from Skittles, who is in the chat right now. This is for our VAs. Do you have any accents you might one day add to your audios, or maybe some hidden talents that might come into play later? Differences / similarities show your writing versus acting. The first person is Star.
Okay, well, I did do an April Fool's video where I did an American accent, but I posted it a bit late, so it wasn't really on April Fool's, but it's fine. If I do any other accents again, it'll probably be that, and it'll probably be as a joke, because it's not very good. But I guess that's my answer.
Any hidden talents as well?
I'm not talented.
We should not say that here. We are all here because we chose to create content for the masses. There is a talent in that.
That's adorable. Honestly, Nothing.
Well, you know what? One day we'll get there. With more practice, you'll get into your own, I guess, and you'll learn things about yourself as you progress.
You are very wholesome, and I appreciate you.
I'm trying to prop up our VAs here because I appreciate all of you and our writers as well. So let us move on to Juani.
Okay, what was the last question? I'm sorry. I was listening to all of that, but repeat the question.
Okay. Do you have any accents you might one day add to your audios, or maybe some hidden talents that might come into play later? Differences/similarities show in your writing versus acting.
I experiment a lot with accents and voices and stuff, and I just do different things. Like I have been starting to try and do the femme voice thing, but it's really, really freaking hard. So yeah, that's one of them that may come up soon, but if I'm able to do it.
We are looking forward to that. Please share when you have it. And so, last but not least, we have Prince Cairo.
Yeah. I don't really do a lot of accents or anything. I guess if there was one, like if I knew more about the British dialect, I'd try that. But I don't know how to do it consistently and the different way that they carry different tones. So I'm not too sure. You know, maybe if I spoke a little bit of Japanese, you know, you might get a fill or two in a different language. But until that time comes, I'm not really sure if I've got any secret weapons to play. Oh, actually, I do have something that might be considered a bit of a hidden talent coming out kind of soon, because most people haven't heard me speak outside of, well, this tone before. And I do scream in an upcoming script, so that's fun. And nobody's ever heard me do that. So
Is this a public script? Because I am interested.
it is. It's the exact same one I mentioned that Shining covered.
Oh, okay.
Literally, I did it, and then I listened to Shining's. Phil was like, yo, why am I so trash? So then I redid the part where Shining screamed and I screamed, and I'm like, man, my audience has never heard me do that, because people on like Twitch have heard me scream, but that's because I'm playing a video game. The people who listen to ASMR for me do not know I can do that. And it's a completely different scream between me being on the video game and what I did here. It's beautiful.
Well, now you gotta send it to us when it's out. I would like to hear
All
this.
right.
Please send it. Actually, I'm subscribed to you. I'll see it.
Yeah, it's mostly done being edited. It's like halfway done.
I am looking forward to it. So let us move on to our next question. This one is from Lyrical Apathy for our writers. Do you have any writing outside of script writing? Or do you do any writing outside of script writing? If so, do you view the characters in your scripts the same way you view the characters in your other works? We have Bliss first. I'm not sure if you are muted.
What is it? Oh, is it me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Alright, I'm in my own world. I mean, I mainly do script writing now, but when I was younger, I used to do just random stories. Like I had to, when I started doing this, I had to make a new like kind of account so that I could separate my story writing and script writing from each other, so I didn't get loads of stuff mixed up. But I don't know. I don't know. I just kind of do stuff.
I guess the question also is, It's like, do you view the characters in those scripts are the same that you do in the other works too? I guess, and how you write them is what the question is asking.
I don't know. I mean, I base like a lot of the characters in my scripts off of myself, like just sarcastic, kind of. I don't know.
What we know.
I'm good at yeah. I'm good at sarcasm. That's just I don't know. I base them off myself.
I mean, that's definitely one way to to inspire yourself. I think a lot of writers probably do that too, like where they have a little bit of themselves in all of their characters. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it all just kind of stems from the sarcasm. Being British doesn't help with that.
I perpetuate the stereotype.
Oh, I'm Scottish. I can do this. I can do this. The superior Brit.
Oh boy, there was just some fighting words. We got some other British people.
Yeah, I know.
I take offense. I take a lot of offense.
I'm gonna offend quite a few people here. Star's also British too, if I recall correctly.
Oh god, I've got other British family. It's fine. I'm allowed to make jokes like that. I've got British family.
Anyways, let's not start a full-on war in the panel. So let us move on. So I am next for this question, and this is a really good fitting question because of I don't know if everyone else has seen, but I recently in this past week announced that I am actually the lead writer for a Fire Emblem ROM hack that I am taking part in. That should have its demo out in a couple, I don't know, several months from now, but we are actually searching for VAs at the moment to do some auditions for the characters because we are going to be posting a trailer on YouTube at some point. But yes, that is basically what I'm doing right now outside of script writing. And in terms of, I guess, how I treat those characters next to script characters, because I do actually write my scripts alongside the dialogue for the game itself. I actually, funny enough, find it easier, despite having less experience doing this, I do find it a little bit easier to write the characters in the game more because it's a back and forth, and it's a little bit easier to actually have a full-on conversation between distinct characters than it is writing a character who is speaking to a listener and having to imply certain dialogue cues and such, which again, it's always the challenge with scripts. And I just find it a little bit easier with distinct characters that I'm allowed to have more silent moments and stuff to infer certain things happening as opposed to having to describe them. So in a way, like, they are kind of different. I will say that I do have similar, I guess, vibes between certain characters. You will notice that there are some very distinctly blue characters in that game once it's out. But anyways, that is my take on this question. Let us go on to Prince Cairo.
All right. So it's the repeat the question for me, just so I get it fresh.
Do you do any writing outside of script writing? If so, do you view the characters in your scripts the same way you view characters in your other works?
I have in the past. I suppose I do always think of them as their own individual characters in between every separate project. So, like, project, one might be like if I'm deciding that I want to like write a book or something, or like, create some kind of fantasy world where it's not just like a script. That might be a little bit different than like, a character that I'm creating for a script, because usually it's like a one-on-one type of thing in a script. But other than that, I like to make sure they're their own, characters, and I'm going to make sure they've got their own personalities and everything like that. And I don't usually mesh the two styles together. I can't really think of a time where like I have very thoroughly anyway. Like I've taken small elements, but nothing too crazy.
Very interesting. And yeah, like I've said, we have all these different answers to these questions because honestly, you know what? I should probably ask as an extension to this question, I guess how many people actually wrote fan fiction back in the day? Because I did. That actually helped out.
For sure. For sure.
That's how a lot of us got into this in the first place. And it's
Something
a very
like that.
different medium compared to something.
Unfortunately, I did as well.
I say not so, unfortunately. Just because, like, I think a lot of people would say, like, a lot of writers, like, or big name writers actually got us start writing fan fiction. So, you know, like, it's kind of a nice way to get into the medium. Like, no matter, like, what it is, whether it's script writing or even writing a book, you know, one day you might end up writing one.
Mine is unfortunate because I was 12 and it was
It's a good learning
not good.
experience, though. Like, starting early, like, it's kind of like drawing, you know? It's like you kind of get better as you go, right? Anyway, let us go.
I'd hope so.
Let us move on to our next question. Move down this list. A lot of these are from like singular questions from like one person, rapid fire questions. So this one is for our VAs from Monopoly on Sauce. What do y'all look for in a script when deciding what to record? Do you look for something that's well formatted, or do you prioritize unique ideas? So this is kind of an extension, sort of like to the other question we had when searching up scripts, but I will let you all answer. The first is going to be Juani.
Honestly, there are a few different core ideas that I kind of look for. My rule is kind of the more ridiculous, the better. Like the crazier and more outlandish, and the more it makes me laugh, the better. And then there are also some character styles that I know that I can do pretty well. And yeah, I really like the supernatural ones and monster boys and demons and stuff. So I kind of just, those grab me and I click on them and save them. And most of the time I'll do them right away.
And here's another question, I guess, in that what type of monsters are we talking here? Any kind? Or specific ones?
There's certain kinds, like usually I tend to like doing the like nervous and quirky monster boys. But then I also like doing the really cocky kind of evil but not so evil demons or villains or vampires.
You say villains, and yet you have not done a fill of my scripts. Not to put you on the spot or anything.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I don't expect everybody to do my work. But it's just funny. I always see people that they do villains and I'm like, why have you not done my work? Is it not good enough for you? But yeah, I'm not gonna put people on the spot. So let us move on to Star.
Unfortunately, most of the scripts I fill aren't very unique. They're just like wholesome fluff, like comfort. I do some monster girls sometimes, the most unique being a Doulahan. But I do a lot of vampires. It's mainly the format. If the format is easy to read, then I'll do it. But it's really just the title that catches my attention rather than anything else.
Our VAs fall into the same the same trap as the listeners. It's gotta have a good title, guys. Most important.
I consider the title to be like a descriptor, like reading the back of a book to decide if you want to buy it. Because the titles for this stuff, it just describes the work.
And I think, like, again, we kind of mentioned this before, where it just works for the medium. I feel better than like a book title, because again, it's like, especially when you treat it like from the, I guess, way that listeners are going to be searching for scripts, or at least fills on their end, because a lot of people aren't going to look up like the title, because like they're not going to know, obviously. Like they're going to look for like like, I don't know, like boyfriend ASMR, girlfriend ASMR, yandere or something like that, right? Like that's basically what they're going to be looking up on their end. They're not going to know from a specific title. So I feel like it kind of works out having like the weird light novel titles. But next up, or actually last, we have Prince Cairo.
All right. Yeah. So when I'm deciding, like when I'm looking at a script and stuff, a very interesting thing about me is it is exclusively off of the title. Whenever I pick a script, I do not proofread these scripts. I'm not even going to lie to you. I do not. If I hear somebody do the work, like for instance, that's how I know what your work is. That's like, when I'll hear one. But it causes for some very interesting situations because I don't proofread these scripts. So whether or not I'm actually going to end up fully creating the script is entirely dependent on how well I feel I can deliver on what is provided. Sometimes I figure that out in 30 seconds. Sometimes I figure it out in like 4 minutes. It does cause for some very funny moments. I do have a Monster Boy sort scripts where there is a line that completely snuck up on me, and I had to like re-say it like 8 different times. And as far as my comments are concerned, people always quote that line. They're like, "Bro, how did you say this without laughing?" I'm like, "You don't know. You don't know. I was on the floor reading this." Um, but I also do look for things with like the tags I'm generally good at least that I feel that I'm generally good at, and people expect from me Royal Speaker Yandere, different demons, some dragon from time to time. You can get that from me. Occasionally you'll get a Naga, things like that. But I'm not very good at the more timid roles or the more shy, nerdy roles. Those are not ones that I'm really well equipped for. So I'd be doing the writer a disservice by even trying to put that out there.
And honestly, I feel that I don't want to say I don't wanna, like call people out or anything like that, but I feel like sometimes, there are certain characters that people just work best with, like, or certain VAs work best with their voice, and sometimes they'll try to do something like just completely out of their voice range. I'm like, I get that you like this, but like you don't really. I'm not convinced, unfortunately. But I mean, like, it's not to dissuade people, but just saying, like maybe it might be beneficial to to work into your talents, I guess. But anyway,
Yeah.
we will move on.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I do like a lot of like the shyer scripts, but since I'm more of a bombastic person, I have to pretend to be shy, and I don't know how to do that because I'm literally not. So
It's called acting.
Yes, I know that, but it isn't exactly something you can just do
Yeah.
if it's not anything you ever do.
The graveyard shift. Oh, what are we talking about here? Actually, you know what? I probably should even bring up chat just because we kind of want to respect people's time here.
So YouTube doesn't cut our budget.
So where are we? Okay, we are at Weird Print 2922. This is for everyone. If you had to pick a favorite script / audio out of all the ones you've done, what one would it be and why? So I've sort of had this question asked previously. I mean, I don't know why this thing really likes to put the same people first. I guess we're back at Prince Cairo.
Sure. Okay. I have to pick one that I can say on the podcast. Okay, there we go.
Unfortunately, no SFW.
Yeah, that's why I had to pick it. There is 2 different ones that I like doing. One was the Cruel Emperor series. That one was fun, and that was super fun to do. I'd never played the role of an emperor before, and I had to do a lot of Googling when I was speaking as that role because they were pulling out words I'd never heard of in all of my life. But it was really a very fun time doing that whole series. And another one's like the my first Mafia Trader video. That was super fun to do, and that's what made me realize that I love doing Mafia roles.
Some interesting ones. let's see. And now we have Bliss. You are up next.
I had this written down somewhere, but I can't find it. I'm too tired to look. So I think probably off the top of my head, I think my favorite one would probably be I did it because I love you, because it had a lot of like the humor that I say on a daily basis, and it was really fun to write.
Myself saying I'm seeing the conversation in chat again. I remember this line that you're talking about. I think
that line was hilarious.
I almost
died. I died like 4 times trying to read that. I was on the floor. I wish I had the original bloopers from that, because that would be that's viral instantly. It was so good.
Alrighty. I am next with this one. I'm gonna be very brief with this because I've kind of answered this question on a previous podcast, I believe, probably more than once at this point, I don't remember. But my personal favorite script that I've written is my Villain Makes You Feel Wanted script, and just because, again, it was me writing manipulation in a way that I think made me feel smart. It's like I felt like this character actually manipulated, like, even the audience and whatnot. But yeah, if you want to hear more on that, go watch our previous podcasts. But I will actually move this on to our next person, which is Wani.
Okay, could you repeat the VA question again?
Well, this is for everybody. It's if you had to pick a favorite script / audio out of all the ones you've done, what would it be and why?
That's really hard. I think I actually do know that one. Like, a knee-jerk reaction for that one is there was a cyberpunk script that I did where it was like a kind of hacking into the person's brain and doing a hypnosis type thing, but doing it all like digitally. And it was just so much fun to build that one. And I had a lot of fun with it. It actually didn't do that well, but that's how I discovered I really like doing the hypnosis scripts. And I want to do more, but honestly, when I do one of those, it takes me like 3 days to edit.
Unfortunate. I thought you would have said, like, or it made it sound like you were going to say, like, well, it's because they don't perform well, unfortunately.
Oh no, I don't care how stuff performs. I really don't care. I'm doing this for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually make it a point to do random things and not stick to one vein so that people can get used to me doing random things.
Honestly, it's a good method too. Like, I think, and that's something I also do, where I like to throw in like weird shower thought scripts on occasion between my villain stuff. It's like, hey, I can do other things, right? But yeah, always nice to hear from VAs that do stuff regardless of how popular it gets, just because they like it. And lastly, we have Star.
When I read this question, one specific video came to mind, and it's because it was, okay, I released it in January of this year, and it was a collaboration with my best friend at the time, Centauri 1014, and less than a month later, we started dating. So that's fun,
very sweet.
but it's a really like, it's in our comfort zones for both of us, and there's one part in it where we giggle in sync, and we didn't hear each other's takes for it before we recorded, and they were absolutely in sync, which I find absolutely adorable. And also, I like the drawing I did for it, so yay.
I'm gonna have to post that one in chat too. I'd like to see this. That sounds very cute. If you can find it. That would be nice. Or at least over on the server, because I don't think people can send links over in the YouTube chat unless you're a mod, unfortunately.
I shall go on a hunt for it now then.
Yes, please do. So let us move on. These are grain of salts questions. The first one is for our VAs. It says, please do a voice impression of a character from any franchise, then let others rate the similarities. Oh boy, are you guys ready for this?
I skipped that one. Oh boy.
Actually, stars first. Do you want to do that? Also, thank you.
Why am I first? What did I do to deserve this?
I don't know, as a grain of salt. One salt our VAs to suffer.
I don't know. Oh, I'm not good at this.
That's fine. say what's an... Alright, let's do like a line that you like, anything. Or an impression of any of the characters that you've done in the past.
My mind's drawing a blank. I can't. I don't know.
That's fine. You don't have to. But yeah, let's move on, actually. How about Prince Cairo? Can you do this?
I guess I have to now. I suppose the only character that comes to mind that could even remotely be within my vocal range, even though his voice is way deeper than mine, is Dark Cacao Cookie, actually, from Cookie Run Kingdom. So, yeah, love that game, by the way. I was once a king, trapped in a castle of regret. He's a dark, brooding guy who hates his son.
Unfortunately, I've never actually played Cookie Run, so other people are gonna have to rate that.
It's okay. I'm going to give that a immediate 9 out of 10. Yeah, if I'm the only vote on there, then that's, clearly perfect.
Also, unfortunately, scared us. I would not like to participate in that. I cannot voice anything for my life. I'm not a voice actor for a reason.
Yo, wait, Thanos? That's not a bad idea. But
do Thanos?
No, I can't do Thanos.
Can you do Thanos?
That'd be funny. Yes.
No, it didn't work.
No, hold on. You can put some Overwatch on that.
I don't know. What else do you want to do, Juani? It's your turn.
Oh God, I don't know. You know what? I am going to shoot myself in the foot right now. Chat, what do you want me to do?
Somebody said Thanos. I'm already trying. Junkrat. Darth Maul. I don't know. That's what the chat wants.
Can confirm it's a real Junkrat laugh because we couldn't hear it on Discord. I can confirm that.
Oh damn.
I like Discord wouldn't let you hear, but I know that is in fact a Junkrat laugh. If I could hear it, it's not good enough. That's a 10 for me.
I haven't played Overwatch in forever. I don't remember any of the lines, but I know the laugh.
Venom. One of your favorite ASMR characters to voice. Like, well, you guys can go watch those videos that they've done on their channels. Please do, by the way. But anyways, let us move on and not force our views into some very questionable things.
It's fun for me. It's fun for me.
This is gonna be for our writers. How do you enrich your vocabulary in the long run? And how do you find a fitting word for your script when you need one? I'm first. I don't really have a good answer for this, honestly. Actually, what's kind of funny is I kind of noticed this was even before I actually started writing scripts. But I feel like back in the day when I was playing like a lot of video games and stuff, there's a lot of words that come up that you don't really know the meaning to, so you start looking them up, and then you're like, okay, that's what I mean, or that's what that means. And so you end up kind of learning that way. I actually remember learning a lot of words from Pokemon, funny enough, because there were like some big words like as a kid where I'm just like, I don't know what that means, and then I looked them up, I'm like, oh, okay, that's part of my vocabulary now. As for like fitting words, I guess it depends on like what the character's like. If a character's a little bit more formal, I'm gonna try to choose words or at least like a tone of voice that's a little bit more formal comparatively like to someone who is a little bit more casual. Sometimes we do the thesaurus thing where we look for synonyms for words on Google. It just makes things a little bit easier. It's nothing like too crazy, honestly. Hopefully other people have a better answer than I do. Let's go back to Prince Cairo. Do you have an answer for this?
Right. So actually, I had recently encountered this when I did an audio recently. It was one of those more so viral ones, and there was a specific word I was looking for, but because it was improv, I couldn't find it yet. So it ended up coming to me by watching a video, and somebody else said the word, and I'm like, that is what I need. So then I proceeded to re-record that section of dialogue, and then plug in that word because I had used a filler word, but I knew that I wanted to use a different word for it, and it kept bugging me until I found it out.
Well, very convenient that you did find it. Sometimes, even like sometimes it's kind of hard to find like just the base word itself. I feel, and then it comes to you like hours later. It's like, oh, okay, I guess that could have worked out. But then no, okay, let's move on to Bliss.
You and I do the same thing. I like if I can't think of a word, I give up and Google it.
It's the tried and true method, honestly. I feel like it just makes it a little bit easier because we don't always have the answers. That's why I look for a good friend Google. And so we shall move on. Okay. To our next grain of salt question. This is for everyone. Learning from examples. Take one aspect in audio roleplay contents and mention at least one example of a script or script fill that does this aspect right. It's a lot of... it's kind of trying to make sense of this, but...
Hold on, there's a lot to unpack there. Hold
yeah.
on.
There's a lot of things to unpack.
Okay.
Also, I think you said Miss.
I see. I think I got it. I know what they're asking. I think.
Let me find something here because I think did not ask. Oh yeah. Oh, I think it's because I was trying to move them. Thank you for mentioning that. Let me actually add Not's question. Thought I added them. But we'll get to those. Thank you. Let me do the randomizer and then I'll add the questions while we're doing that. It's for everyone, right? So I need to find one where I'm like the last person. No, this thing really doesn't want me to be last. Okay, here we go. Back to Prince Cairo.
Right. One aspect that I'm going to do here is scene changes. Those are something that are it's very difficult to get those right from the perspective of somebody who is, doing the role play, from the perspective of somebody who's writing the role play. It's kind of difficult. I will say that Alva in particular, since she's in chat, does this quite well, at least in what I have recently filled. There was an audio that I did that was more so like a fairy tale. And although it was the same technical, like large scene, the transition between me directly talking to the character and then pulling the character out of their scene, I suppose that's how it was. The listener was being forcefully pulled out of their scene by me. She did that in a way that was pretty seamless by having me be more of like an omniscient controller. So I was able to help set the pace for that.
Also, sorry that I am attempting to change the questions here while y'all are working on it. Let us move on to Bliss.
Sorry, is that the question that I was trying to answer?
Which one? This one from
Greenwich.
Yes, the Greenwich one. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Sorry, that was my internet crashed. Wait, sorry, what question am I answering?
It is the one from Grain of Salt, everyone. It is learning from examples. Take one aspect in audio roleplay content or contents and mention at least one example of script or script fill that does this aspect right.
Oh. I don't know. I've been put on the spot.
That's why it's a little hard.
God, it's fair. I can't think.
It's okay. Take your time. I'm in the middle of attempting to remedy the situation here with not.
I don't
say,
know.
like, I guess talk about like a fill that you like. Maybe that's probably the best way to put it.
Well, probably just any of Shining Armor. Probably any of his. All of his are really good. Big fangirl for him.
So, again, sorry about this, guys, with the weird technical difficulties attempting to add Knott's questions. Because I did not have them for some reason, and it looks all wonky on the screen. Sorry about this. Let me go back to our list. Is Juani's next?
Okay, this is one that I think I mentioned before on one of the podcasts, but well, no, I didn't mention this exact thing, but I mentioned her name. There's an ASM artist called Stop. Sorry, my son's yelling in the background, but there's an ASM artist called Saylude, and the way that she does her soundscapes and the ear switching, I think that's what you would call it, where you switch the sides with the earphones. The way that she does that, it's just amazing. And it's kind of hard to get right because I try to do it myself and I'm not very good at it.
So sorry about this.
Oh, can you guys hear me? Did something just happen?
No, it's just because
okay,
I'm trying to add the questions. That's why.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's on my end that this is an issue. But anyways, let us move on to Star.
I don't know.
It's okay. Yeah, like I said, I feel like the best way to answer this is more like, what's a fill that you like, honestly.
Honestly?
Or at least what's a script that you like, that there's a specific aspect of it that you think worked really nicely.
Okay, this is gonna sound biased, but Centauri 1014, one of his videos had the voice going from one side to the other, and he did that like really, really well, and it infuriates me that that video is one of his least popular. He's underrated, and it is angry.
Well, I think I have sort of fixed this in the meantime while listening. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to comment on
To answer that same question. Sorry, to answer same question, I just remembered one that I was thinking of, but I couldn't remember the name. It's Debo Caucus. He writes a lot of hypnosis style scripts and stuff. And the way that he puts in the script, like where to put the echoes and the cues and stuff like that, he does a really good job at it. And one person that fills a lot of his scripts, if you look on YouTube, is Banshee. And she does amazing with the hypnosis scripts. Like all of her audios are hypnosis style, I think.
Okay, I think that is probably a better answer for this type of question. Like, I think it's kind of worded a
Sorry.
little bit funny, but I think I get it, honestly. Anyways, I will try to answer this, and I've kind of also sort of answered this to an extent on previous podcasts where I've mentioned that there's only been like 3 VAs that have really pulled off exactly what I had in mind for I guess the characters that I was going for. I'm just gonna highlight, I guess, one right now, so I don't take up too much time. But if anyone's ever watched Wendy's Lost Boys, her fill of my Secret Encounters of a Villain series, I feel like fits the character the best that I envisioned in terms of how the speaker talks, because I feel like a lot of the times when I listen to fills of that series, like they'll kind of get like, you know, the flirty aspect of the character sometimes, but I feel like sometimes you don't get like the full playfulness of the character, and like the ad-libs that she added to the script, I think really work in the favor of the character. And I think, again, like just the way that she portrayed the character is probably the closest thing like that I can say like this is how I envisioned this character to talk, honestly. So if y'all haven't checked out that particular fill of that series, it's probably my favorite fill of that series, if anyone ever wanted to know. So now let us go on to the not questions that I completely forgot to add. So I'm gonna have to edit this as we go. Why is this showing up still? Why are grain of salt's questions still showing? Oh, I see what's going on. Yeah, they're still at the top, so it's gonna look a little bit funny on this end. Yeah, I don't know why OBS does this, where for some reason it does not like it when you add more of these two, but anyway. So this is gonna be for our writers. So this is from Not. What motivates you to write, and how does that motivation influence what you write? And so our randomizer is going to start with Prince Cairo.
Yes, lovely. So for me, as I mentioned, mainly my writing is improv, and it is completely spontaneous for the most part, unless I am, somebody approaches me and they're like, "Hey, have you ever considered doing something like this?" And I'm like, that is a good idea, but I don't see like a script for that specific type of thing, so I'll just kind of put it out there and do my thing on it. Or like if there is a specific topic going around that is more so like a bit more viral, like there's a lot of, like a video game or something, right? It comes out, taking the world by storm. I want to capitalize on that because this is literally my income. So obviously I'll improv a role for that. That's Not My Neighbor is a game that came out. It's basically like Papers, Please. You identify doppelgangers and don't let them into the building. And a lot of people like a certain character in that game. So I chose, well, that game's very popular right now. People like this character. So I went ahead and got some art of my character done for it and decided I was just going to make a role play of that character whenever I get that art. And I did.
Honestly, sometimes I wish I had the means of doing something like that. We're very fortunate to be able to have that as an option. And honestly, that kind of makes me think of things like, I don't know if anyone's ever offered, I guess, like certain people like to do like fan art of their works. Like that's the dream, I feel, for some people.
That is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Like I would honestly like that, and I feel like a lot of I don't know if I can speak for every writer or VA, but that'd be cool. Artists out there,
Yeah.
I think some of us would appreciate
for
that.
sure. I guess, yeah. I'm not sure how common it is for writers to get it now that I'm thinking about it. Because you and I had a conversation about, how writers oftentimes, people are like, "Hey, where's part 2 of this?" But like, I'm like, "Hey, I didn't write it." You gotta ask them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fan art ends up going to the voice actor, not the person who wrote it. So there's also that aspect.
That always happens too. always see like on VA's works, they're just like, can I have a part 2 or part 3, part 4? Like they don't have control over this. Like no, unless they want to make an enemy out of me and create their own fan fiction or something. But please don't do that, by the way. Always ask your writers for permission, or you can ask nicely and say, hey, can you make a part 2 to this? Some of us might say yes, some of us might say no. Sometimes you guys ask for more than you know, more than we can really put out. The weird, unfortunate, I guess, the dilemma of many writers, I feel, and VAs, is that for some reason a lot of listeners really like to have multiple parts to scripts that don't have multiple parts, but then when you have a series, they just don't watch it for some reason. That is the...
I think
weird
I kind of share that sentiment too, though, because I get really, really attached to characters and I want to bring them back. So I've actually asked writers, I've been like, hey, if you write a part 2 to this, DM me or just send it to me. But I don't want to let the character go at the end of the script.
so sad sometimes. So can I commission a part 2? Be like, oh, that'd be a nice thing to hear. Unfortunately, some of us don't do commissions because we don't always have time. But you know, those ones, there are some out there that do in fact do commissions. So please go support them, especially if it's a script that you really enjoy and they might be flattered by it, you know. But again, like, just don't expect it to always happen, because sometimes, you know, writers have their own vision for what they expect from a story. It's not always how things work out, I guess. So we kind of did where am I? I think I sort of answered it on my end. To actual, I didn't even really answer it, but I'm technically next. So what motivates me to write, in terms of like motivational influence, I've kind of talked about this a little bit on my end before, where a lot of my influence comes from like games or books or like pretty much everything that I consume in terms of medium, like, or any sort of entertainment medium. So sometimes I'll mention, yeah, it's like this is based off of something, like, for instance, going back to the Prince Cairo fill of the villain is your house husband. That was in fact, and somebody pointed this out in the comments over on Reddit, that yes, it was in fact inspired by Way of the House Husband. So really great series, by the way. Please go read it / watch it. It's hilarious. But that's honestly how it is for a lot of my works. And it's what inspires me to keep writing other scripts. And I guess you could argue that another thing is I like being able to hear fills from VAs. Again, it's always great to see a VA come over to me and say, you know what, like, I did this script fill for you and I really enjoyed it. I always like hearing that from my VAs when they say that they really enjoy my work. So that's a nice little motivating factor that keeps me going, honestly. And lastly, we have Bliss.
I don't really have like a sole form of motivation, but I mean, like, whenever I get a fill or just a compliment or anything, that helps a lot to like stick to it.
I think that probably does work for a lot of writers. Please go and tell your writers how much you like their work, and we appreciate it. Please do that for your VAs too. Tell them how awesome their works are.
Appreciate people.
Always gotta go send them the compliments. I think they will enjoy it. Just don't do the parasocial thing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just tell us how great our work is, and I think that's enough sometimes.
Be normal and appreciate people.
Yes. Please do. And I think actually Not brought this up in a previous podcast, to do so in a public setting where it's not like just you and DMs or something, right? Just to kind of keep people in check, you know? But yes, let me fix up this question again, because, again, I didn't have the not questions for some reason. I don't know why I forgot your questions. This is weird. Let me move this around. Okay. So that should be okay. This is the next question. It's formatted a little bit wonky. So let me fix that. All right. So this is for our VAs. How do you explain what you do to those unfamiliar with ASMR audio roleplay? Our first person, if this thing would load, is Wani.
I don't. I honestly am scared to death to tell people in my real life about this stuff because I have had reactions of people being like, what the hell before.
Same, honestly. I'm not even a VA. I've showed like friends my work, they're like, oh, it's like the cringe ASMR stuff. I'm like, guys, it's like it's not even ASMR like most of the time. But you know, do what you do. So let us go on to Star.
Honestly, my answer is the same as Tony. Like, I don't tell anyone. I think the only people in my real life that I've told are my parents and my little sister. And the only way I've explained it is I do voice acting. My sister knows my channel, but she doesn't watch my videos, which is good. My parents don't know my channel, and I'm going to keep it that way.
It really is kind of a difficult thing to explain sometimes, and even when you do, it's like people have a very specific impression in mind, especially when you say the term ASMR. They're like, oh. It's like there's kind of a weird negative connotation to it, I feel. That's why I always tell people, it's like, I do writing. Like, that's usually what I tell people. It's like, I do a lot of writing.
Yeah, I tell people that I do voice acting, and then they ask where they could find it. I'm like, oh, different places.
Different places. Like, you don't need to see that.
I had a good friend of mine actually find my VA Instagram. I don't know how he did it, but he found it, and I'm like, no, nope.
Yeah, it's unfortunately kind of difficult, I feel, to explain to some people, especially, like I said, like when there's a specific connotation when they hear ASMR. So I always say, like, we should just be called like the, what is it, or like what we do is more like radio dramas. Like that's pretty much it. Or like, I guess like fantasy voice acted role players or something, I guess. I don't know. There's probably a better term.
I don't know how did this, I don't know. I know nobody has an answer for this, but why do we have that particular connotation in this genre?
We kind of we discussed this back in the day on the first podcast, actually, that it probably like sort of did stem like from ASMR at some point, like where, you know, a lot of people just did like the very quiet voices, and some people still do that. Like it's still part of a lot of people's works, like the more quiet sounds, because a lot of people use these to fall asleep and such, right? So like I guess there is kind of a tie to that in a way, even though it's expanded for like much greater than that. I mean, you're not gonna fall asleep to people like screaming, like Yandere screaming. Like I hope not. Honestly,
that's pretty soothing.
There's probably somebody out there, honestly, who does. But who knows? But yeah, we'll move on to Prince Cairo because it seemed like you had an answer to this.
Oh, well, yeah. So it really depends. Like I won't tell everybody about what I do, and there's a couple of different answers I'll give depending on who they are. And I'll give the one that I give to the normal people on the stream, and I say it's kind of like kind of a little bit like audiobooks, reading stories. Essentially, that's how I go about it. But then to other people, I make it a little bit more concise. I don't really mind telling people. I just won't tell people where to find it, especially if I don't want to mix them with this. Like, I like to keep a very clear separation between my real life and my online life. And there's like no, I guess this is a large amount of people to some people, but like 15-ish people who know what I do and where you can find it and also know me in real life. But that's fine. Those are like my homies. So I don't care if they know, right? I'm not gonna go talk to the mailman and be like, hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel, right? That's just not how that works. When I worked in my previous job and my coworker was talking about, man, I need a side hustle, talking about themselves. I was like, I mean, yeah, just about everybody needs one nowadays in order to survive. And then they're like, oh man, what would yours be? I'm like, yeah, I've got one. I just kind of read stories. And he was like, you read like audiobooks? I'm like, yeah, something like that. And that's how I went about it.
And in a way, like, that's kind of what it is, to an extent. Like a one-sided audiobook that doesn't describe, like, the entire thing going on. But,
A very dramatic audiobook reading.
only the dialogue.
Only the dialogue.
The dramatic reading.
Yeah. If you're feeling spicy, even the sound editing.
Gotta make it all fancy, right? But yeah, that's actually a good point that you brought up, Prince Caro. As the thing is that, like, some of us, well, actually, I feel like, especially like in my case too, like I would not want to say like what I do, I guess, like in a professional setting, because you know, especially with the types of like certain jobs that some of us might have. Like in my case, like I feel like this, it's not necessarily something that would get me fired or whatever, but it's like
Right.
it will definitely raise some eyebrows, I guess, in my field probably.
Yeah. My coworkers probably have expected it of me. Actually, they expected so much worse because their first question was something completely different. But yeah.
So it seems like Star has a story. If you want to tell that story, Star.
Okay, so a few months ago, I got a message on Snapchat from two girls that I used to go to primary school with. They weren't very nice to me, but in the DMs, they were kind of mocking ASM artists and being like, "Oh, how do you become popular with this? I want to do it." And I was like, "I don't know." And they were like, "Oh, well, we found this channel and we think it's you." And I'm like, "That's not me. I don't know what you're talking about." And then I blocked them.
It's the unfortunate thing sometimes, you know, right? I won't really go into because the comment
Having to
on
deal
that,
with bullies as an adult.
there's some
That is
people
where we're
out
at
there,
now.
honestly, that just don't really change as they get older, you know. And that is the unfortunate truth sometimes, right? But yeah, like it seems to be a general consensus, at least for the most part. It's like this is not something that people like to share, at least like the full extent of, just because I feel like when you do try to explain it, sometimes like you'll get some weird looks, honestly, because people don't completely get it. But anyways, let's move on to our next question. We have one from a nice word. This is for our VAs. For those that do it all, as in record, edit, develop their audios, how long does that process take you? Would you set a time frame for yourself to get X done by Y date to keep a schedule, or is it dependent on script content / motivation? Let me let's do this thing here. Don't like that this likes to give me the same order as like previous. This doesn't like it. Okay, Star, you're first.
Okay, well, since I draw for all of my videos, the drawings normally take a day or two, and then I edit the visuals and the audio. I can do that like in one day. So if I'm uploading on a Thursday, I'll probably start the drawing on Tuesday and then have it done in time. So it's good that it doesn't take too long. It's only the drawing that's the most time consuming. But yeah, I normally don't need too much time.
I always like to hear about the, I guess, double / triple threat people who can actually draw as well as write their scripts and or voice scripts too. Like that's a talent that goes into that, honestly. Like I only know very few VAs that can pull that off, which, and I am very impressed by you all who can do that. Let's see. Our next up is Prince Cairo.
All right. So my answer kind of changes depending on length of script. I would say a general rule of thumb for me in terms of like development time of a script is for every 1,000 words that are in a script, I would say it would usually, if I'm taking my time and doing things properly and I messed up a usual amount of times, that would add 1 hour to editing the script. But that also depends upon, what the script actually requires. And I'll get into something that I've had to do recently. That took a lot longer than that, but that's fine. It was different for me. So I would say that if I were to find a usual script by you, let's say, those are usually under 2,000 words, I can have it done the same day in like an hour and a half to 2 hours if I actually grind and don't get distracted. I commission artists all the time, so I don't have to worry about the actual art part or anything like that. It's really just the editing that takes a long time. And it also depends upon anything in my house. Like if there's a bunch of noise, like there's dogs barking, people in the kitchen, stuff like that, I'll have to re-record because, you don't want a really serious situation and all of a sudden you hear somebody stub their toe like in my background. As funny as that is, it's going to take you out of it. So, yeah, I don't really have I need to get this done by this date specifically per script. I do intend to post 4 times a week, which is fine, but I do have like a time frame. I work from noon to 4:30 on scripts, and then after 4:30, I usually try to be done, or if I'm feeling spontaneous, I'll continue. And then I know I've been talking for a hot minute, but recently I had a script that I had to do, and it was less than 1,500 words, so I didn't expect it to take me that long to write. But I was actually confused about how it was written at first, because usually, you do a script and it's kind of like a linear storyline. You're following what one character's doing and, how it interacts with the listener, all this stuff, and it just kind of goes like that. There may be time skips, scene changes, all that stuff. Yeah. This one kind of jumped around different points of their relationship, and I didn't even realize that as the reader until halfway through the script, which meant I had to re-record the script. And then the editing, it requires something like 30-ish sound effects in the let's see how long this is, like 12 or so minutes the script is going to be, which is a lot of sound effects because I did not have a lot of these ready. So that definitely adds to it, for sure. If it's sound effects heavy, it's going to take a lot longer to edit. So this script, instead of taking 1.5 hours, took like 4 hours to do.
I have to say, like, I do appreciate when the VAs properly edit stuff, because I notice sometimes where they'll just record and then not even bother afterwards. Like, they keep a lot of the flubs and stuff out. I'm like, it kind of takes you out of it. So appreciate all the work that goes into editing for those who do it.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have Wani.
Okay, this is a difficult one for me because I'm actually really working on getting better at this, but a lot of times I'll take like probably about 6 to 8 hours sitting to edit a 10-minute script. Because I have a lot of flubs and it's usually really sound effect heavy, and I get ideas in the middle of the script. So I'll go back and be like, oh, what if I put this in here? Oh, what if I put this sound effect here and change this and change this? And it's just an endless cycle of me going back and redoing and redoing. I did a script recently that took me like, no kidding, 3 weeks to edit. It had 4 different characters in it, so that's part of it. But also, like, I just kept getting ideas for the magic sounds and everything like that. And I'm trying to get better at that, but it's a process.
gosh, sorry, my headphones just like fell out for some reason.
Oh.
But at the very end, but that's fine. I caught most of what you were saying. But yeah, that is. Let me move on to the next question. We have two from Twinkie. The first is for writers. If you have a script idea, how do you usually plan out the conversations among the speaker and the listener? I am first. This, I guess it kind of comes down to, first off, I always have an idea that I work with initially, just the base idea. I'll write some notes for that script, unless it's a series where I'll actually plan out like the entirety of what's going to happen in basically every scene. But when it comes to something like a one-shot, it's mostly just like, here's the title, or it's not even a title, really, like it's more of just an idea and then a couple of notes in between. And like I sort of mentioned in a previous question, most of those conversations I feel just having like that beginning part and then being able to do like a back and forth in my head, like I feel is just something that comes to me a little naturally, like just to have the conversation between two characters. So a lot of the times, like the conversations themselves aren't necessarily planned out, just the direction of where I want it to eventually go. So again, what they're saying just comes to me as I write it. But otherwise, yeah, it's just I write notes to kind of give me that initial direction. Our next up is Prince Cairo.
Right. So, since I do a lot of improv, I don't exactly, well, even when I speak, I don't really think about what I'm going to say or anything like that. I just kind of go for it. And I know that a lot of different people, they do like kind of think out what their responses are going to be if somebody says something, like even in real life. I just kind of like go for it. So, for instance, the Milkman audio that people mentioned in the chat, I know that the character is perpetually tired. I know that he's a bad guy in this. So I'm going to respond like a tired bad guy and eventually become more unhinged. I already know what's going to happen because I know what type of character it is. And since I just kind of like to roll with things, even if like, like I'm not thinking about my words as I say them. So whatever comes next just kind of happens and I just keep rolling with it. And that's just how I've always done my dialogue. The only way that ever changes is if I once again like substitute a word and then come back and find a different word that would work a little bit better, and I might have to change my delivery depending on that. But other than that, it's not really a planned out type of thing for me.
That's another thing. I've always been impressed with improv, honestly, because I feel like not everybody can pull it off. Like just actually being able to like do on the fly. Even as a writer, I can't really say like on the fly dialogue is easy to do, but maybe it is for others. Who knows? I guess we'll find out from Bliss. Is it easy for you?
I don't know. It kind of depends. I mean, once I get the title, I just kind of go from there. But you're gonna hate me for this, but not giving you much content here. I don't plan it. I just wing it. I don't do anything.
I hear that from a lot of writers, actually. They're just like, I just wing it, honestly.
Yeah.
In a way, I guess
it's about as organized as my life gets.
Yeah, like in a way, I guess it's like I get how it is. Like I said, it's more so like that I wing stuff with one shots and stuff comparatively, not my series though. I'm like I have to plan out everything. And I always hear like from people in the server, they're just like, I don't plan my series. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? It's like, what about all those people who are gonna be waiting for more parts and stuff? You gotta plan out your series, guys. Come on. So, anyways, let us move on to our next question, which is also from Twinkie. This is for our VAs. If you could be the voice in my head of any character, who would it be and what would you urge the host to do? It's an interesting one. Wani is first.
Okay, I don't really understand the question. Is it if I could be the voice in the head of a character,
Yes.
or be like a character who is the voice in a person's head? Or
no, like if you could choose a character and be that character's voice in their head.
oh,
I guess like the devil on your shoulder sort of thing.
dude, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's perfectly fine.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Honestly. Let's see if our other VAs have an answer for this. Prince Cairo, do you have an answer? I don't know if he was drinking water. Maybe. Hydrating.
Maybe if I unmuted my mic, that would help. Okay. So the way that I comprehended this question is if I could be the voice in the head of, like, the listener or whatever that prompted me to respond in certain ways or other things, or like maybe, the characters. It doesn't really matter. That's just how I thought about it. And it took me back to a series that I did for Golden Proxy. It's actually my first series ever. My Elf Adventure series that I plan to redo one day. But there are decisions made by the listener that if they had just thought for half a second about what they were going to do, we would not have been in the situation we were in, because they quite a few times, but once to a great detriment of the plot, ended up making a bad decision. And had they just thought through what they were going to say or do for even half a second, it would have been just fine. And that's who I really thought about in that moment.
I feel like there's a weird meta-ness to that. It's like the speaker being the voice in the head of the listener to make the decisions for the listener. That in itself, I feel like, could be an interesting concept for a script. Who knows? But lastly, we have Star. Or do you want me to? I don't know if you need to add it to the chat, maybe, for me to answer, or no. But yes, this character as in someone we voiced or a random popular fiction. I think maybe what the question is asking is random popular fictional character. So I don't know if you have an idea for that, Star. Yes, no.
Luckily, that's the only idea. That's the only one I could come up with an idea for. It's kind of a joke idea, though. Like, imagine if I said, like, Gasai, and then all I was saying was just unalive that person over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
That's the only idea I came up with.
Choosing violence. All of our people here. They'll have different I guess, approaches to this. Kind of surprised, though. You would think, especially for something like Prince Cairo and stuff, like, like you would think he would go like the villain route here, but it's like, no. It's like, I want you to do better things.
Look, sometimes they just, if they, thought for half a second, we wouldn't be here. There wouldn't be a villain if they had thought for half a second.
What if they
and
wanted
the villains,
villain, Sometimes we want to be in that situation.
They're the villain by proxy.
Anyway, I guess we won't comment too much on other people's scripts right now. We'll just move on.
Yeah. Oh no, the script itself was fantastic. It's just like, it's one of those situations where, like, if you were there, there's no way that you would have ever let that happen.
You never know.
I love that script.
Let's see. Let us move on to... We have 3 more questions that we're getting pretty close. 2 Yardbud questions. This is for our writers. Do you have any tips for creating longer and more interesting scenarios? Let's do this. Prince Cairo, back to you.
All right. Let me think. Longer and more interesting. Okay, I've got to think of this and not just go I improv everything. Um, I suppose if you've ever, oh wow, this is going to turn into that. Had like a stream of consciousness that you've ever written down. Like if you've got one consistent idea, or like you know that your character is going to be really into one consistent idea. Let's say that it's like a villain and they like to, let's just say they do the typical villain monologue, tell you the whole plan thing, right? If you can make sure to weave that in and also use appropriate sound cues, then that would help lengthen a script for sure, because there are a lot of scripts that are very nice, I'm very sure amazing, that are like 500-600 words that could probably be double the size if they just expanded a little bit more on the dialogue and how the characters like deliver it. It helps create a more full character and helps get the audience more attached to them, I think, because the more a character speaks, typically in situations, with the exception of like certain characters, like I don't know the name of that one quiet girl in that anime, but she doesn't do a lot of speaking, and people like her for that. But a lot of characters, when you do when you like remember them, you remember them for when they speak. You think about Optimus Prime, you remember when he's speaking. You're not thinking about his fighting, which is still phenomenal. It's just always like when it's a villain, you think about what they did. When it's Syndrome, you're thinking about what he's saying, and that's what helps make it more memorable and make it longer. So if you can kind of get into that headspace, I think that'll really help.
Also kind of, I guess, to comment on that, like with some characters like who don't speak, like that just doesn't really work too well in the medium itself of ASMR, unless that's a listener or something, right? So like you kind of have to bank off of just how much dialogue you're working with a lot of the time. But yeah, let us move on. I am next for this one, and I kind of sort of joking like answered this in the chat before podcast happened like a couple days ago. So honestly, like it's back to me saying like I just write a lot of notes, honestly, in terms of my, I guess, creating longer scenarios. And really I treat my scripts like a big scene, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that I want to happen, and really it's just writing the dialogue to get from point A to point B a lot of the time. So sometimes that takes a little bit longer than others to do that. In terms of more interesting scenarios, again, this kind of comes back to previous question where I have a lot of inspiration from existing series or games or whatever have you, right? So a lot of the times I find that there's cool ideas that exist in said game or series, but I want to go back and do my own variation of that, right? Because maybe I thought to myself, what would this be like if this happened instead? And this always happens a lot with the with the villain characters, where a lot of the times the very unfortunate thing is that whenever you have those characters that, or like specifically the villains who I guess turn to good at certain points, and then there's like a trope where they get killed off and stuff. And I'm just like, what was the point of making them good, I guess, or at least having them, have a better relationship with the main cast? And here I am writing my stories like, we're not gonna let that happen. This character's not gonna die. Like, I need to know what happens afterwards, right? So that's kind of my thought process. Well, it's more specifically for the villain scripts, but in general, I feel like I can take existing scenarios and kind of work my own, I guess, method, or at least work in my own ideas for whatever that initial idea was. And lastly, we have Bliss.
Usually, if I'm really stuck on trying to make it longer or more interesting, I'll write what I want to happen. Like if I want VA and listener to end up kissing or something, I'll just write VA and listener end up kissing, and then just kind of flesh it out whenever I get an idea.
It's always the true motivation for any script. How do we make these two characters kiss each other?
Yeah.
for all of those who...
When in doubt, add a kiss.
I actually brought that up in a previous podcast too. It's like, how do we make certain scripts more popular? Just have the characters kiss, you know? It's like, that's how you get the views. That's how you get more people to like your work, right?
As well. The ones that I've had, like, the bully kiss list are my most popular.
Understandable, right? I would assume that might be the case for our VAs too, right? At least I think so. Maybe. Did any of all have an answer?
If kissing makes it more popular?
Yes.
For sure. I will say that my retention graph is heavily skewed towards those parts.
I've actually noticed that too with some VAs where you always see like the section that they added on YouTube videos where it's like most replayed, it's always the kissing scenes.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, as I've learned, because one, I've been demonetized once, you can't make too many kissing sounds too close to each other. Like, I think 4-ish seconds is like my cutoff, or else they'll just age restrict my video, which means I can't make money off of it, which then they stifle the video, and it's just all around bad.
That's unfortunate. I feel like that doesn't necessarily apply to some VAs. I've noticed that they go on for like a really long time. Like, are you gonna stop?
Yeah, I've noticed. Another thing I've noticed, like the pitch of those certain scenes, where like it was a higher pitch than I usually do, but I know I've done it for longer on a lower pitch. But I have seen people get in trouble for doing less than what I do, but because their voice is more high pitched, the bots in charge of, banning people are like, hey, now, what are you making over there, buddy? And then your channel's gone.
The unfortunate reality, honestly. Which sucks, but I mean, I guess that's why we have other platforms, technically, where you can kind of work around that, like Patreon. Or even stuff like the more NSFW subreddits like GWA, where it's just like, just do whatever you want. I think they do have like some limitations on what works.
Yeah, they've got a couple limitations, but it's tags for what it can be. Like you can't use certain types of extreme content on there.
Something that I'm not super familiar with what it is. All I know is that they have like some weird restrictions and stuff. But anyway, we're gonna keep this mostly safe for work stream. So let me see. That was our last one for our writers. So we're gonna go on to the question for our. No, I think this is for everyone. Yeah.
Everyone.
So everyone, if you could only voice/write one trope for the rest of your life, what would you pick? How would you keep it fresh? So let us see. Okay, so Star is first.
Why am I always either first or last? This is weird.
This randomizer really likes you.
Fair enough, everyone likes me. I think probably like Vampire Girlfriend, and I guess how I'd keep it fresh is like each video I'd make would be like a different kind of date and how like she'd handle it. I'm not very creative.
I mean, that's fun, find our niche. And whatever we do like. Let's see. Next up we have Bliss.
Oh, this is easy. Enemies to lovers all day long.
You stole my answer.
Plenty to go around. This is gonna sound so bad, but I love being an ass. Like just like getting new insults. It's great because I can just throw whatever I want at the listener and they just eat it up. It's great.
Always great, honestly.
Yeah.
Always.
I love being an ass. What can I say?
Sometimes it's fun, but I'll get to that one when it's my turn. So Prince Cairo is next.
prince. Okay, no, I'm messing with you. I'm not going to give you a one-word answer. But like the royal tropes, those are always very good for me. Well, one, it's in the name. Two, I always have the most fun acting in those roles, and there's a lot of ways that can go. I can be very sweet with that role. I could be a complete dictator. I could be just the worst person ever. And well, like you said earlier, people will eat that up because I mean, who doesn't want to be with the prince, right? If you're into that type of content, be they super nice or super mean, right? Somebody out there wants Lord Farquaad. As weird as that is. And that's what's the most fun about like the royal speaker type of genre for me. He can be mean, he can be yandere, he can be super sweet, give you the world, or he can, blackmail you into service. It's entirely up to, whoever's writing.
I'm gonna start getting into all the loophole answers. Because honestly, there's a lot of they're very versatile, honestly. So yes, next up we have Juani.
A demon. Because I guess there are a lot of ways you can go with it. Like, could be a cocky, super powerful demon. Could be a, like, beaten down and abused demon, or dying even, or... There's a lot of ways you can go with it. I really like the cocky, super powerful one who gets shy on occasion. And, yeah.
And then I assume we'll end off with me. Again, Lucy stole my answer. Of course, if anyone knows my work, obviously enemies to lovers. It is such a very versatile thing to work with. I could have just said villains, but honestly, surprisingly, I don't only write villainous characters. But I do like my fantasy stuff in general. But as a whole, yeah, enemies to lovers I think is a very easy trope to work with. And I mean, how do I keep it fresh? I'll just check my master list. That is your answer, honestly. Because again, majority of my work is going to be something like this. Not all of it, but you can, it's such a versatile trope because it doesn't have to be between the same types of personalities a lot of the time. Again, similar to how I've mentioned before in the past with my villain characters, where not all of them have to be like this like evil mastermind type character. Some of them are a little bit more subtle, some are more polite. Like you can do some dorky ones. Like, so there's a lot of things you can work with, honestly. Like it's not just this character is evil, they all have the same personality. So but yeah, like I said, not necessarily villains, but enemies to lovers. And now I believe we are on to our last question. This is from King Kiri, and this one's for everyone. Is there a specific audio/script that blew up that you didn't expect to be so successful? Let's see. So, Juani is first.
Recently there was a comfort script that I did that kind of blew up, and I don't usually do comfort audios. It's just the slice of life thing is just, it hasn't been in my wheelhouse, but apparently people really like it, and yeah. I didn't expect it.
Well, let me check here. I am next, actually. And this is a funny one that I like answer because I have a lot of answers to this question, really. Probably the biggest one is gonna be my most popular script, actually. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did. And I'm trying to remember like the full title because trying to check my whole master list here. I can't remember my own titles. It's down here. So, oh, I know where it is. Yeah, it's the villain you rejected wants another chance after your crush has rejected you. That's my most upvoted script. Again, surprisingly, when I posted it initially, like I didn't think much of it, but then like it just started blowing up out of nowhere. I'm like, I don't know if it was just a good day that day for me, like nobody else posted or something, but people seem to really like that script for whatever reason. I guess people like comfort scripts, like for being rejected by somebody and then like finding out, oh, somebody who's like very powerful and stuff and a villain like is interested in you like this whole time and stuff and everything. I guess there's a lot of things to work with there. Another one, which was a little bit more recent, that I was actually very surprised did very well, was the one bully script that I've written. The one, bully threatens your crushes into rejecting you. Like, that was my first ever bully script, and I did it specifically for the purpose of doing something different. And that one actually blew up quite a bit. Kind of surprised, but I might do more bully scripts at some point, because apparently I can write them well enough. I guess. So I guess look forward to that in the future. Next up we have Star.
Okay, I brought up this one before, I think, when I said that if I could commission any scriptwriter, it would be Prince in Yellow. I didn't expect it to do well because I think I was just about to hit 200 subscribers, and then all of a sudden I released that video and it skyrocketed me to like 400, and within 4 days it got 2,000 views, and I was just kind of sat there like, how did this happen? This is like my 6th video. What's going on?
The algorithm chooses who it decides to bless sometimes, I guess. It works in mysterious ways.
It really does. And with because I have different characters I reuse on my channel, that every video that has that character, there's only 2 that have less than 1,000 views. And I'm a pretty small channel, so that's a big thing. And apparently the algorithm likes that character, which confuses me.
And who knows? I don't think anyone completely understands the algorithm. Yes, as Omar says, YouTube chooses you. Let's just hope that it keeps choosing us, or all of us, honestly, are the ones who actually are affected by the algorithm. In a way, it does kind of affect writers too, because, more people hear about your work and might be interested in looking into more of your content. And next up we have Bliss.
Well, I mean, it didn't really blow up per se, but the argument script that I did a couple weeks ago, it was it's my first attempt at an argument script, and it got 2 fills within the first 2 days, and I was really surprised because I thought it was pretty bad since I hadn't done one like that before, but pleasantly surprised, I guess.
Clearly not bad though. If we have several people wanting to read it and do fills of it,
Yeah, it's all very surreal.
And hopefully we get especially for both our writers and our VAs, hope that you all have more success in the future and have more of your works blow up as well. But yes, last but certainly not least, in our last question, we have Prince Cairo.
Yes, thank you. Well, it was a script by Jan Khan, actually, and I played the role of a more shy librarian. And that is actually still to date the video that's ever gotten the most views on my channel ever. And I literally only made it because I told my audience I would back when I hit 200 subscribers, and then I was at 10K. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll finally make this thing. But truthfully speaking, my heart was not in it. I was not very interested in making it. I'm not gonna lie. That was the one and only time I've ever really not cared to make the script. To do the fill. My sound design was off. My voice acting was pretty terrible in it. I knew it was out of my vocal range. It was just all around a complete and utter disaster for me as a person. And it had greater views than anything to date has ever gotten on my channel, and I believe is directly responsible for my success. So yeah, I still hate that that's my most popular video ever, considering the fact that I, for once in my life, didn't put effort into it. But yep, that's just how that went.
It's like a bittersweet relationship with that. I feel like some of us do have that too. I've had that happen as well. I had like one script that I autopiloted and it somehow like tied for my second most popular script. I'm like, I don't know why. I didn't feel like I put effort into this. It's always the one that you don't put effort into that ends up being like the one that that works out nicely for you. I don't want to say like don't put effort into your work, but
yeah, no. I spent like less than an hour like from hitting start recording to creating the thumbnail and putting it up. Like it did not take long for me to make that. And yeah.
Just people like what they like, you know.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again though. So
oh, well. But anyway, that was actually our last question. This is a very short podcast, a lot shorter than we normally do, but again, it's kind of a good thing because it's pretty late for a lot of us. So you do want to respect all you guys this time. Why do I not have the thank you thing here? Anyway, so that's fine. But again, thank you all for joining us for this next podcast. The next one coming up actually is going to be a reunion podcast. I'm going to be bringing on a lot of old members that you've seen from podcasts 1 through 4. I might not actually bring on some of you guys, the ones from today, just because I want to give that opportunity to those older members. I'm probably going to prioritize the ones that, like the earlier ones, like from the first couple podcasts, if they're interested in joining. But we'll see. But again, it was very nice to have you here. And unfortunately, no Yorba, no 3 hours of hot takes. That's kind of what propelled the last one into being like 6 hours long, because we were just talking about hot takes the whole time. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to respect people's time because it is very late for several of us here. Again, thank you all for joining us. Again, unfortunately, Bridge was not able to join us for very long, but again, thank you to Bridge for being here, and thank you all here on the panel for joining us. It has been a pleasure to have you here. Do you all have anything to say before we sign off?
I guess I can tell Alva to not bother checking my channel. That video is not there. I burned it.
Weren't you going to ask Alvar to do commission for you?
I know you said you were going to volunteer your wallet to ask Alva to commission for me.
I did not say that.
That's what I heard. That's what you heard, right, Wani? That's what you heard.
What happens if? Oh, you know what? I've worked with Alvar actually on collabs. What if we did a collab?
So you're still offering your wallet up? I see. Okay, I can get behind that. Keep my bills paid. Keep my audience happy.
I mean, Alvar and I have actually worked together. So we've actually worked together on several occasions. So you never know. Maybe we could do another collab. Well, actually, we have other teams working out for collab month. So it probably would be a while from now. But who knows, Alvar, if you're interested, maybe we could do a collab at some point again. For money, who knows? Maybe. For myself, too. I want some money.
Hey, I mean, if you donate to the Fund Yourself Foundation, right?
I guess we'll see what happens. Anyways, anyone else? Do y'all have anything to say to our lovely people here in the chat before we leave?
Just thanks everyone for being here.
Anyone else? I guess we're all thankful, right? To have all these people. It's probably the most concurrent viewers we've had, honestly, for any podcast.
I guess, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for having me on the podcast. And it was lovely to meet everyone.
It was very nice to meet you as well. Again, there's a lot of people here that I don't really know. So it's nice to have more people to say, like, hey, like, I've spoken to you before. Let's see. I think the only one, Bliss, do you have anything to say?
Thanks. Thank you.
Well, yes, thank you too for being here. No shameless plugs this time, unfortunately. I don't think we have any. Like, does anyone have merch? Prince Kyra, you have merch, right? Or, like...
Whoa, no. My merch will not be for the for the podcast. No.
Just go to the Patreon.
It's for the Patreon.
The Patreon.
It's not for.
It's definitely not safe for work, but we're not going to talk about that. But anyway, like I said, please go check out every single person here. They all have incredible content, and again, always happy to have all these different people on to give us their takes and their experiences that they've had in the community. So again, thank you all for watching, and we will see you probably in September for our reunion podcast for the 1-year anniversary of podcasts. So see you all then. Bye bye, everybody.